Si avvicinano le elezioni in Italia, un appuntamento molto importante perché verrà scelto il governo che dovrà stabilire il ruolo dell'Italia in Europa nei prossimi anni per affrontare la crisi. Ulrike Herrmann, quali sono le aspettative dei tedeschi?
Well, speaking for the Germans, I think most would hope that Mr. Berlusconi will not win, because Berlusconi here in Germany is a phenomenon that we don't understand. Because basically, he's been convicted several times, or it's obvious that he committed some crimes and that he is just aiming at being prime minister in order to evade prison. And I mean, that's something Germans don't understand, how you can vote for such a guy. But me personally, I would say that it doesn't really matter whom the Italians vote for, that it is somehow misunderstanding the structural problem to think that a single person could change it. So whoever wins in Italy will face exactly the same problems and the same pressure from the other European countries.
Qual è la percezione dei tedeschi in merito all'esperienza di Mario Monti al governo in Italia? In qualche modo c'è la sensazione che sia riuscito a costruire di nuovo un rapporto tra Italia e Germania, soprattutto alla luce della crisi?
Well, I think that the Germans don't really want to understand what happened with Mario Monti, because, he executed everything the European neighbors wanted. I mean, a very strict austerity program, lots of structural changes within the administration in Italy. So, he was the perfect guy. And nonetheless, Italy is still in severe problems. And, if the other European countries were honest, they would have to accept that the whole strategy towards Italy is wrong. Because if some guy like Monti, doing everything the others want, somehow fails, at least when it comes to recovery, then of course the Europeans should really wonder whether the problem is not completely different from what they think, and how much, for example, responsibility Germany has for the shape of Europe.
Questo è esattamente il punto. Come mai in Germania così tanta attenzione a livello politico per un'austerity in Europa e c'è una virtuale mancanza di alternative come strategie di uscita dalla crisi?
Well, I think that most Germans just make a very common mistake. People tend to think that the problem must be there, or that the cause of a problem must be at the spot where the problems show themselves. Now, if Italy is in a problem, which it is, many people think, well, the Italians are responsible because there the problem is somehow surfacing.
Si ha quasi l'impressione che dal punto di vista tedesco, o di alcuni tedeschi, gli italiani debbano essere quasi puniti.
Yeah, of course. Most Germans think that. They somehow, no one wants to give them any loans, so it must be the Italian economy that's in a bad shape, because if it was in a good shape, they would get loans. And so that's what people think. And of course, they never ever analyze or ask themselves whether there might be a relationship between Italy being in a crisis and Germany being in such a good shape. The Germans think, if here everything's fine, that's due to our to our culture, to our working hard.
Scusi, ma sembrerebbe quasi un cliché tedesco quest'idea della punizione economica.
Yeah. I mean, that's not my view, but that's what most of my compatriots think. Yeah, they think that. But if all the other countries are in a problem, it's their responsibility. It can't have nothing to do with the fact that we are profiting from the crisis.
Ma ci sono forse correnti d'opinione in Germania diffuse, magari da parte della sinistra, che possano prevedere per l'Italia un altro ruolo o anche altre strategie diverse da quella dell'austerity?
Well, yes, of course there are alternative views, but me, for example, I have one, but it's very difficult to get Germans to listen because, we have a full employment here. We pay interest rates that are negative. So, there is no sense that there might be a problem for Germany in the Eurozone. So people are just very relaxed and just wait what happens, no?
Dai sondaggi sembrerebbe che le elezioni italiane dovrebbero essere vinte da Pierluigi Bersani e dal Partito Democratico. Non sappiamo ancora con quale coalizione. Da questo punto di vista, qual è l'immagine di Pierluigi Bersani in Germania e quali sono le attese nei suoi confronti?
To be honest, I don't think that many Germans know about him. But as I said, most Germans somehow hope that Mr. Bersani might win. I think that whoever wins, whether it is Berlusconi or Mr. Bersani, they will face the same kind of pressure from the other countries. But I'd like to stress that Italy is much stronger or more powerful than it seems. Because, in fact, Italy doesn't have any problem. I mean, the government debt amounts to about 120% of the GDP. But that's very high. But it's always been that high for the last 20 years. And never, ever, Italy had any problem to service its debts. So basically, Italy can finance these debts, especially as they are mostly held by Italians. So it is an internal debt. It's not even an exterior debt. And so, of course, for the Italians, there is this very fundamental question whether they should stay in the Eurozone if the other neighbors insist on Italy following an austerity program. Because as the government under Monti showed, austerity is very, very harmful for the economy. It doesn't help anything. So, of course, if the other European countries were wise, they would allow Italy to abstain from austerity and to start economic programs in order to start the economy again. But probably Germans are too stupid to allow for that. So I think that our government is really very harmful. So the realistic perspective is that the Germans will insist on Italy to continue its austerity program. So this economic slump in Italy will continue, and then of course there will be a situation arising, no matter who rules, whether it's Bersani or Berlusconi, when the Italian public starts asking itself whether they should really continue within the euro. Because, if Italy left the euro, the damage would be immense, but for Italy, the damage would be not too great, at least not greater than an austerity program. But for Germany, it would be disaster. As Germans, we cannot allow the Italians to leave, because that would be very, very, very costly for Germany. And Monti knew that. Monti knew that when it came to a showdown, he would be able to force Merkel, our chancellor, to compromise. And any new Italian prime minister would have the same kind of power to somehow force the Germans to compromise, because it's obvious that for Germany it's more important that Italy stays within the euro than for Italy.
Quindi da questo punto di vista, il prossimo premier italiano come si dovrebbe rapportare alla Germania e soprattutto come dovrebbe affrontare la questione dell'austerity con Angela Merkel?
Well, you should say we did everything we wanted. It doesn't work. If we can't change the program, we'll leave.